This is the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast, your source for the strategies, systems, and insights you need to turn your dreams into your destiny. Every week, we dive into dynamic conversations as our host, Nicole Greer, interviews leadership and business experts. They're here to shed light on practical solutions to the challenges of personal and professional development. Now, here's your host, a professional speaker, coach, and consultant, Nicole Greer.
Welcome, everybody, to the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. My name is Nicole Greer, and I want to help you build a vibrant culture. And today I have a fantastic guest, one of my fellow HR professionals. I have Carrol on the show today. Let me read you a little bit about Carrol. Carrol Ostendorf is a people-first leader. Don't miss that. That's what you want somebody to say about you, who believes authenticity is the foundation of meaningful leadership. With more than 20 years of experience in human resources, operations, and community advocacy, she brings a unique blend of empathy, clarity, and discipline to every role she steps into. Her work is guided by the belief that when people are seen, heard, and supported, they thrive. That is fantastic. She wants to help people at work and beyond. As the HR and operations manager at Delta V Forensic Engineering, Carrol focuses on building healthy, values-driven teams while overseeing key initiatives such as employee engagement strategies, multi-state operations, and compliance frameworks. Whether launching company-wide programs or mentoring team members, she consistently leads with transparency, inclusion, and respect. Carrol's diverse professional background includes managing complex care operations at ResCare, growing client relationships and retention, and advocating for public health policy through her work with the American Heart Association. No matter the role, her strength lies in bringing people together around shared goals and creating spaces where everyone can succeed. And here is one of those things, like, you won't believe this, especially when you take a look at her, blonde, beautiful, all these things, right? She is a lifelong martial artist and black belt in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. Carrol brings discipline, resilience, and presence to both her personal and professional life. She co-founded a self-defense program for women and children and has spent over a decade serving her community through volunteer advocacy, supporting survivors of violence with safe passage and representing the best interests of children as a guardian ad litem. A SHRM certified professional, Society for Human Resource Management professional, and a Clemson University graduate, Carrol is known for her authenticity, integrity, and unwavering belief that people are at the heart of any successful organization. Welcome to the show, Carrol. You are epic.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so we need to know, how did you get into jiu-jitsu? Was it like your brother? Was it like your mother's like, I'm dropping off your brother, so you're going to go too? Or what was the story?
No, I danced as a young person. And so dance was my thing. And there was actually a martial arts school next door to my dance studio. And I used to look in the window and
That's
think,
great.
that's cool. But it wasn't until my daughter was born, who's now 20, that I got scared one time in a parking lot. She was about 5 weeks old. It was the first time I had taken the new baby out, and everything was fine, but I just heard this noise, and I realized in that moment, like, I don't know what I would do, and I have no plan. And I went home, I told my husband, I don't know how to fight. And, he laughed and he's like, no, that's not your
You're
skill
right.
set. And so then I just applied myself to it, and I did a few different things over the years, and about 12 years ago got into Brazilian Jiu-jitsu and stayed there and love it. And it's a great thing for women to do, not just the guys. So I encourage women to get involved and learn all the different cool things their bodies can do.
That is fantastic. So if you met somebody in a dark hallway that was trying to get you, you could just flip them over and put them right.
I would probably go away. I would remove myself from that environment. It would be my first step. But if for some reason I couldn't, then yes, I could throw them over my shoulder. Yes.
That is fantastic. Okay, listen, all you HR people, you got to go to jiu-jitsu in case you have to throw somebody over your shoulder. Remove yourself first. Don't miss that.
Yes, that is not our first step.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So Carol and I met when I was speaking at a SHRM meeting, Society for Human Resource meeting. And I think that we just both love this human resource thing so stinking much and love taking care of people. So I just felt like it was such a good fit for her to come on the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast because she is doing so many cool things in her organization. So, first of all, I think your company does something really unique. So, will
Yes.
you give a shout out to all the good things that your company is doing, Delta V? Talk about it a second.
Yeah, so we are the go-to firm for resolving high-stakes vehicle accidents. And our team, we have a few different engineering departments, but they can take an accident, they can take the vehicle, the site, data about what happened biomechanically, the people part of it, and they can tell the story of what happened. We have clients who need to know what happened in these scenarios, and they need someone to build that out for them, and we have a great team.
Yeah. So, like in the middle of the night, they get called out and they're doing all these things and checking it all out. Yeah. You're working with some really smart folks doing some really great things.
Yes.
But here's what Carol and I both know our people may know the technical side of the job, but they also need this leadership piece, right? And how to be a good teammate and all those kind of things. And so, you have a desire to build kind of a university. Will you talk about how that kind of started? I know you have a leader inside your organization as well who is like, we got to do this, which, hello, it can happen.
Having that person who's on the executive team who is your champion, that is what's going to make something successful.
That's right.
So our COO had this idea. It wasn't any of us, it was him, and he really believed in it. And it was this great idea that just sort of sat there. And we kept saying, we need to do that, we need to do that. But it didn't happen because people were busy. And so what we did was we brought in this amazing intern who has now been promoted to our corporate management associate, but she was a college grad. She's taken a couple of gap years before law school and super motivated and amazing. And we said, this is your project. And that was what we needed. We needed that new person to come in and be excited about this and have the bandwidth to do it. And she has pulled it all together and, managed the project. But the most amazing thing that she's done is she has engaged all of our engineers and our team members to be a part of this project. One of the things that we've done successfully over the past couple years is start to bring people outside of our corporate team in as we do new projects so that we have other voices at the table and people feel included. And so Morgan was able to bring in all these people and all these engineers and get them excited about it. And they really are excited. And I've never seen that type of excitement before in my work environment. And it's because it's something they geek out about. It's their technique, it's their process, it's all the things that they've learned over their careers, and they're excited to pass that on. And we've been able to create these opportunities for some of our newer employees as well. So we have some engineering associates and brand new professional engineers who are even doing videos and a teaching thing. So we've been able to bring so many different people in. And there's this other role we have called a client engagement staff member, and they're the heartbeat at Delta V. Everything runs through our client engagement staff. They run the projects, they run scheduling of people and resources and everything. And even they are getting to make videos and trainings. So that's been really fun to see it come together, and we are about to launch. I couldn't be more pleased with how a group of people have rallied around an idea.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm just sitting here grinning because, the thing is, we have other organizations where the HR team says, hey, we're going to have training. And people go, is it mandatory?
Mhm.
And don't miss what Carol just said. She's like, we have people who are in the field making the training videos, making sure that it's the right thing to be training and the right things to do. And it's really like multiple stakeholders are at work. I just celebrate that. Y'all are doing great work.
It's been really fun. And it's been fun to watch this young associate come in, Morgan, and just take the reins of the project and corral all these engineers. She's been pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something that could be spicy, but like when you guys hear a bunch of excited engineers, you might be thinking, "What?"
Yes.
But because the stereotype is they're very serious and they're calculating things with their slide rule and they have their heads down and they are working. But in fact, if given the opportunity to celebrate, like you said, the work that people are doing and to make it even be better, I mean, that is right up an engineer's alley, right?
And we have some great teachers. We have some people who, if not engineers, I think they would have been teachers. And
Yeah.
they're great at passing things on. And so they now have this platform and opportunity. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and I don't know a human in the world that doesn't want every once in a while to take off like their engineering hat and put on their teaching hat, or to mix
Yeah.
it up a little bit. It makes work exciting. It doesn't get boring, and it
Yes.
makes you have a little bit of a sense of purpose too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so she's bragging on Morgan. I gotta tell you, I had lunch with Carol and Morgan, she's sitting there eating her salad, but buddy, she is on the job. She's asking the
She
questions,
is.
she's getting the answers. She is so sharp. Yeah. So tell us all about the way you're trying to build a vibrant culture. You know, that's my lingo, vibrant culture. But to
Yes.
you, what does the word vibrant mean to you? Or what kind of culture are you trying to build? Talk a little bit about what is it like? What are you doing?
Yes. We have this one manager, and he's the head of a department, and he says the people are the special sauce at Delta V. And I really appreciated that from him because we have experts, and it's those people who are the experts that make the difference in our cases. So because our people are the special sauce, we have to treat them that way, and we have to help them be better and that kind of thing. So I think the first thing is that our team does recognize that people, that's our product, and whether we're going to be successful or not is how we grow those people. So that's the first thing, is having that recognition. The other thing that we're doing that is new for us, but we are really excited about, is we're onboarding a client engagement manager, and she starts in June 1st. And she is a 10-year employee here at Delta V. And so she is coming over from engineering side, and she is going to be, from the moment we tell a new hire, hey, we want you on our team, she's going to come alongside them and help them build the resource library that they need to be successful. And then she's also going to focus on building recognition here at Delta V.
Oh my
That's
God. And
not
so huge recognition.
that's not something we've historically done well. And we've gotten some feedback on that. And so we know we want to do something with it, and something meaningful, not pizza parties. And so that's the
no
thing that
more pizza parties.
Yes. So that's what Sam is going to come over to our corporate team and do for us. And it's also fun because I think it's really cool to bring people in to, HR and corporate from the side where they've been doing the thing that pays our bills.
Right.
Because I think they just bring this really unique perspective that helps us do better work. And so I'm excited about that. And I know she is going to do an amazing job. And we're at that point where we're still a small company, but we have offices in 5 states now, and we need to really make sure we're focusing on people so we don't lose them.
That's right. That's right. And it is not easy to find an engineer. In my company, I do tons of recruiting and I get asked to find engineers. And then to do the special, cool stuff where you got to work in the middle of the night kind of engineer, that's a
Yes.
whole nother animal, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, finding people who are okay with our schedule and who are okay with some of the work we do, which can be hard because we are dealing with some things that can be hard to stomach and a little bit sad. And so it's a really interesting blend of the kind of person who can come in and thrive in that environment.
Yeah. Yeah. And those of you who are listening, like, I'm looking for unicorns too.
Mhm.
Because that's what Carol and Morgan, and did you say her name was
Yes.
Sam that's coming?
Sam,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, I bet that's going to be the dynamic trio. I can feel it already. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have one more team member, Maggie, who does all of our classic HR functions and activities. And she's been sort of the lone ranger in HR for a long time. So now she's going to have all this support, and we're really excited about that.
That's fantastic. Okay, Maggie does payroll. Is that what she does?
She does payroll. She
And we
is in
love
charge of.
Maggie.
Yes, she is in charge of hiring and just everything that is classic HR benefits.
Right, HR generalist on steroids.
Yes, yes. So she's our HR manager and does an amazing job. And I know that having this new help and support is going to make just a huge difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and here's the thing about it being an HR professional. You're like, this is what I'm going to do today. You're on it. You're like,
That's your
that's
plan,
that's what I'm doing.
but
Right. And then it's just like, where did the day go? I've been spending all
yeah,
day on this one thing, right? Like the problem with payroll or an employee needs our help or whatever the thing is. Yeah. That's so good. And don't miss that. They're a small company and they're putting 4 people around people process. That's huge, 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 which is a big reason why people should want to come work for you guys is the way that you guys are thinking.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, what are you all doing to develop your people in the university? Talk a little bit about like what are all the pieces and the parts and the experiences. If somebody came to work for you guys, what would they experience? What would that be like?
Yeah, so with this first launch, we are launching like engineering 101, basic training that we think is most critical for new hires to have. So that'll be in this first launch. And right now, to avoid scope creep, we're just keeping a list of all the other great ideas
Right,
that
right,
people
right.
have.
I want to do
Because,
everything.
yes, that is a great idea. We're going to write that down. So, and then Maggie has been able to select a platform that had some HR trainings as well. The things that maybe aren't as awesome, but are still important,
That's right.
like harassment trainings and things like
Oh
that.
yeah, we got to do our
Um,
compliance. I mean, that's just how it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
we've been able to find a platform that has some things to offer around that as well. So that's sort of the video piece of Delta V University. And then we are also having a focus on live trainings, and people can register for these things through Delta V University. And the first thing we're doing this year is bringing in some leadership consultants, and we're going to talk about building high performing teams. And so all of our regional managers are coming in,
So good.
our client engagement staff, several of our corporate staff members. So it's going to be a diverse mix. And we're going to divide into 3 different groups during the training. That'll be your cohort that you'll go through the training with. And then there's going to be follow up after the training, some continued Teams meetings and things like that. So it won't just be that one experience. And then the other thing that we're planning to do in the near future is training for our engineers with testimony and how to give testimony in court, some fun things like that. So we'll have that in-person piece as well. And then the final little bit is there's all these other courses that we often have to do for continuing education, whether you're an engineer or you're an HR professional or a project manager, you're going to have continuing ed.
Right. Got to keep
And
your designation in place. That's right.
and so We have people who have gone to just about every course under the sun, and they can tell you if it's a good one or it's not a good one. So we're building out a list of those kind of continuing ed opportunities and what we recommend and don't recommend and why, for helping us become the best professionals that we can be. So that's a little bit about all the different ways that we're trying to reach people.
So fantastic. Yeah, I love this engineering 101 because that's also going to level set everybody, right? Because I've got this engineer that went to school there and had this experience and this experience and this experience. And wait, this is kind of how we do it, right? So, what Carol's talking about is this really important thing of setting expectations. Right? I've got a quote that I love that I got from Don Carroll. He said, "Uncommunicated expectations are a premeditated opportunity to be disappointed." And I just think that is the best little thing that he's.
I love that.
Yeah, isn't that good? I mean, it's like when I say
Yes.
that, people are like, "Say it again. I want to write it down."
Uh,
Yeah, and it's because if you tell people what you expect, they can rise to the expectation. If you don't tell them, you're just about to be upset about things because they're not doing what you want them to or how you want them to
What
do
you
it.
thought
Yeah, or
they
have
do.
the same philosophy. And like any professional course work that you do in this life, the company has to set that expectation. And the second thing I want to celebrate is this cohort model. So I'm going to say something about it, but I want to know more about the cohort model. I work with several companies that are doing universities and taking people through like a year-long journey, and then there's a space of
Okay.
time, and then they go through a second year, and one
Yes.
coming to mind is called Bloom. They make slides for cabinetry and hinges for cabinetry. Well, we do this program called Expertise in Leadership Training, and then after a couple of years, you go through advanced leadership training. And the people that are put together in that ELT and that ALT, like they have worked for the company for like, oh, I've worked here 10 years. I've worked here 14 years. And then they'll be like, I never knew that about Carol. All these years
Yes.
we worked together. It happens every time. So, I mean, you think your people are bonded, but they need a place to come away from the work to really get to know each other. And it shifts everything.
It does. And we have offices in different states.
Right.
And those folks have a lot to offer each other,
100%.
experiences and things like that. But they probably wouldn't necessarily think to reach out because they just don't work together every day and they don't get the opportunity to build those relationships and connections. So I'm actually really excited about that piece and having everybody kind of move through this together. And a lot of our engineers and corporate staff member who are in these leadership roles now, they were really good as individual contributors, and that might be why they were put into these manager roles, but they haven't had a lot of opportunity to grow and develop those skills. And because we are billing and working, it's easy to not make time for that. And so I'm really glad that we're going to start that as part of Delta V University.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a total game changer. And probably many of you listening are like, oh, that's what we do. We have these awesome engineers. We promote them to managers, but they're missing the conversation, the dialogue, the discussion, the skills around how do you do people, right? Which Carol and I can tell you is an entire thing, doing people.
It's a different beast.
That's right. That's right. I had a podcast earlier today with a gentleman, and he was like, I hate the fact that we call these soft skills because they're really the most challenging things to talk to people. So I couldn't agree with him more. All right, fantastic. Don't miss that Carol just laid down a nice little university model for you. Go down right now to the comments and say thank you, Carol, and leave her a little love down there.
Are you ready to build your vibrant culture? Bring Nicole Greer to speak to your leadership team, conference, or organization to help them with their strategies, systems, and smarts to increase clarity, accountability, energy, and results. Your organization will get lit from within. Email her at nicole@vibrantculture.com and be sure to check out Nicole's TEDx talk at vibrantculture.com.
Okay, so I'm curious about your recruiting process because, again, she's looking for unicorns, these engineers that do forensic engineering. Like, have you even heard of that before? So, what are you guys doing to find talent? What's up your sleeve on that one? Teach us some things.
Well, I will say retention is one of our most important
Love that.
pieces for success at Delta V when it comes to, people, but especially our engineers, because we are so specialized. It can be really difficult when you talk about a unicorn. It can be really difficult to find someone seasoned and advanced in their engineering career who have the experience that we're looking for with this work.
Mhm.
So, making sure we keep people from when they are associate level coming in out of college and building all those skills and helping them develop until they become senior engineers, professional engineers, licensed, that kind of thing. That's number one when you're talking about success around people and filling your roles. So we need to make sure that this is a place that people want to work and want to stay. So that's a big piece when you think about recruiting. That's a big part. The other thing, I'm sure we recruit from a lot of the same channels that everybody else does. But what we've changed this past year, and we have seen a significant improvement in our candidates and our candidate pool and that kind of thing. So, what we've really changed this year is around that idea that proximity is power. I really believe that. And I believe that for all parts of HR. But when it comes to recruiting, you have to be building a relationship with a candidate from the minute you get their application. And so, transparency when we're talking to them, making sure they understand our timeline, and then in between interviews, because the interview cycle can be pretty long.
That's right, because we got to
Making
get this VP in on it, and he's going there, and then he's on vacation, and I mean, yeah, the whole thing.
So making sure that we are talking with them
Right.
in
Checking
between,
in.
having conversations. A lot of times they'll be seniors in college, like asking them how their classes are going, and we know they're getting ready for exams, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And those things that let them know we see them as people, and that we care about how they're doing. And then that relationship a lot of times will bring about really good, meaningful questions from the candidate, the things that they really want to know. And then you can really start to have a better fit. And that's, of course, what everybody is looking for. And when I say fit, we want it to be a fit for that person, but then we're also, of course, always looking for that cultural add. We're looking for that person who's going to add to who we are and the way we work, and is going to bring that new thing to the table. And you can figure that out when you're taking the time with them as they go through the process. So those are some things that we've tweaked over this past year. Morgan came on board and she's doing all of our interviews and that type of thing. And it probably helped that she's a new college grad. So I think she really had a heart for making that process positive for people, because she was recently in it and it's been fresh and just it's been really good. But we've had some fantastic candidates and I've been really pleased.
Yeah. And I will tell you, in my recruiting work, because I do boutique recruiting for people like you
Yes.
and other companies, and people will say after the fact, we'll get them onboarded, they've been there a while, and then we'll circle back and we'll say, well, why did you choose to join the company? And they're like, well, of course, pay, benefits, all the things people say. And it was a good fit for me. I'm going to be a culture ad, like you said.
Hmm.
But then they'll say, well, Nicole was so nice to me.
Yes.
And I was like, well, of course I was. You know what I mean? But I
Why
think,
wouldn't I be?
yeah, yeah. And I
It
think
doesn't make any sense.
that's right. And I think sometimes there's still kind of this weird leftover smoke and mirrors thing that I don't
Yes.
know what that was about. When I was coming up, it was very smoke and mirrors. In fact, don't miss this, all my young friends listening. We used to place ads in newspapers. and they were
Yes, I remember
blind
that.
ads. And you would literally put your resume in an envelope with a stamp and send it in, and you would never hear a word. It was always just very aloof and staunch, and I don't know what other icky word you can say right there, but don't miss what Carol said. She is like checking in with people and developing a relationship. And here's the thing, you might take that kid to the point where you're like, I don't think this is going to work.
Yeah,
But at least you treated him with dignity and respect. And that's all any of us want. And then he or she knows this isn't right for me. This isn't good.
yes.
Yeah. And you almost decide together, you know?
Absolutely. And we don't want it to be a negative situation for anybody.
Right.
And so um, that's been great, is just that focus on follow up and continued conversation. Like if it's 2 or 3 weeks before the next round of interviews, they're going to hear from Morgan every week. There's going to be something, and they're going to know how to contact her. And if they reach out, she's going to follow up. So making people the priority, that type of thing is just really valuable. And for me, it's just the idea of I'm going to build proximity and relationships in all of HR, but even recruiting with people that I'm just meeting.
Yeah, yeah. And so you keep using this word proximity, which means close, right? Is that,
Yes.
yeah. And so I just want to kind of tease that out for people. It's like, what does she mean by proximity? Which means stay close to your people, stay close.
Relationally and physically. But if you're not in the same office, you can still build closeness with your employees. And I think that often looks like a phone call instead of an email, and asking about their day and their weekend and those kinds of things, in addition to whatever the work thing is that you have going on. But there are ways to build that even if you're not in the same office. But if you're in the same office, please go to people's desk, talk to them, that kind of thing. When you see the smiling face, it changes relationships and dynamics, and it just makes it better for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to share a story. I just recently saw this. So there's a gal, her name's Emily, and she has this team, and I work with her and her team a ton. And she loves to throw a good party. You know what I mean? Like she's all
Okay.
about confetti and cakes
Okay.
and candles and all this kind of stuff. So she has this team, and when they have a birthday, she loses her mind. And talking about proximity, the last time I was over there, one of the girls loves Friends, the TV show
Okay.
Friends. And so I walked in and like there's a life-size Chandler when you go in their office. And it says happy birthday, you know, and then there's just
Amazing.
Friends
Yes.
napkins everywhere. And I mean just everything Friends you could buy on Amazon, she has purchased.
She bought it.
Yeah, and it's just are these people ever going to quit on her? Maybe, but they absolutely adore working for her, and she's unapologetically over the top about the whole thing, and I just think it's great. All right, so if you've been listening to Carol, you're like, dang, she's good. I wish I could be that good of an HR person.
No.
Yeah, and I could do jujitsu. So I'm curious, most of us HR gals, like we fall into it. They're like, I don't know what your
Mhm.
story is, but they're like, get Nicole to do it. She's good with people. That's
Yes.
how it happened to me. So tell me about your HR journey and how did you
Journey.
become the great successful HR person that you are today?
Well, let me tell you, I had an amazing first manager
Mm,
and mentor.
isn't that the thing?
So, my first manager out of college was amazing, and she believed in mentorship, and she just brought me to everything that we did. And I learned, and I worked in public policy then. So everything I know about what makes a good policy and what doesn't, and how to get laws through the legislature in the state of Michigan,
Woo!
I learned, from her. But I also learned my work habits from her, because she was that first boss. And when I started, she's like, I don't care if you make a mistake. She said, just own it. And I learned that from her,
Mm,
and
write
and
that
she
down.
believed, and I saw her do it. So, and even if something wasn't all her fault, she would find her peace in it, and she would be sure to own that so that people felt like she was in it with them, solving whatever it was. And number one, I felt, okay, if I make a mistake, it'll be okay. And it was. But that has stayed with me through my years. I made a pretty bad mistake, not at my current job, but not all that long ago. And it impacted about 15 people on payroll. It didn't affect the people, but it affected our finances and the way our accounts looked, that kind of thing. And I was responsible for our general ledger and saying why there was or wasn't a variance every month and all of those things. And
Yeah, and so don't miss this. The whole entire leadership C-suite thing is looking at this stuff. Am I right?
yeah, yes. And
Yeah.
every location would get on a call every month.
Yeah.
And it'd be Charlotte, let's look at yours now. And everybody else all over the country is in this call too. And then they'd get, what's going on with this variance? And so it lasted for 3 months because it was like this blip. But when I made the mistake, I found it and I figured it out. Like, what happened? How did I make this mistake?
Right.
I called all the people that it impacted so that they would know how it impacted them and what the resolution was going to be, and how it was going to impact our books. And I let my boss know, this is what happened. This is what I've done to fix it. This is how I made the mistake and how I'll refrain from making that mistake again, that whole thing. And that boss, she had this problem that wasn't a problem. And because I had already
Don't miss that.
and she like thanked me, and I was like, yeah, no problem, no problem. And then she kept telling people how great I was.
Right.
And I had just made this mistake that was not small. Now I still had the embarrassment of being on those corporate calls every month, so
Right,
I did have
finally
my
went away. Yes.
yeah, but she thanked me, and it was, you're great. And I'm like, thanks. So glad that I could
Make
do
this
that.
mistake for you.
Yes. So having a great mentor, and when I think of being great in HR, people who have been impacted by great people want to be a positive impact for other people. And then for me, I have some pretty significant hobbies outside of work, and I always have. I had my jiu-jitsu and I have my volunteer work. And those things, they can't help but change you as you go through life. So things that I probably wasn't very good at 10, 20 years ago, I've gotten better at, not because I'm like naturally good at those things.
No, you built the muscle.
But you build, and I was able to do that a lot through my advocacy work with Safe Passage and listening to people and not prejudging what's going on, but taking in the whole scenario and then just showing up for people the way they need you to show up for them in those situations. And so I think a lot of times HR people who fall into it, you have this seasoning that happens to you where you realize how important people are and, oh, I could make a difference there. I mean, with jiu-jitsu, my favorite thing about jiu-jitsu, which you wouldn't think would be something you'd gain from it, is that jiu-jitsu gyms are the most diverse place you will ever walk into.
Oh, how
We're
fantastic.
talking gender, race, financial situation in life. People have all kinds of different political views and things, but we all just love jiu-jitsu and we do that thing together, and it's close, so it's fairly intimate. And so you build friendships and relationships with people who are completely different from you. And you learn that all those differences don't matter because we're going to do jujitsu together, and that's our common goal.
Our purpose, our
That's our
mission.
purpose.
Yeah.
So I say anybody who wants to do jujitsu, you won't necessarily become an HR professional, but you will get better at people.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting you're saying that because I did a custom coaching program for a doctor, and she has a line of nutraceuticals. And she wanted to have a team of coaches so that people who wanted to take her nutraceuticals, they would have somebody who would kind of help them along.
Okay.
And so one of the guys that was in the coaching program was handpicked by the CEO of her company. His name was Ben, and he competed in jujitsu.
Okay.
And like you notice how passionate Carol is. I might have to go to jujitsu class, Carol.
I I
I might have to do that. But
it's so much fun.
well, his name was Ben, and we
Okay.
had class until 5. And if we were like still talking at 5, he would just message, "I got to go to jujitsu." He's out.
Yeah.
I will do this to 5, but I have to be at jujitsu at 5:30.
Yes.
And what a deep thinker and a great soul Ben was too. Yeah. So I'm sure that
I
the
love that.
discipline of the jujitsu and all of that is probably part of the reason she picked him and everything. So cool. So cool. All right. My next thing is, what advice would you have for other HR teams that want to grow? You guys had this crazy thing called a champion who wanted this
Mhm.
university done. And while Carol was really blessed to have this person in the C suite that wants to see this happen, I know that we could wake up some C suites to the value of what you guys are putting together. So, what advice would you have for other HR managers, directors that want to grow their impact on people?
I talked to Morgan before
And we're going to have her
today.
come be on the show.
Yes,
Let's do
I think
that.
so.
Let's do Delta V Phase 2.
Yes, I love that. And she said something that I thought was great. So I'm going to tell you her thought
Okay.
and mine.
Okay.
But her thought was establish presence.
Ooh.
And she talked a lot about how important it was when she was getting Delta V University off the ground and when she's recruiting to talk to these hiring managers and talk to these experts to really dig out, what it is that we need to do and what's most important. And that's not done in one conversation. And so the most important thing from her perspective is you have to be present and let people see you. And then they'll see you as someone who knows a lot and can really speak into things. And so establishing presence is really important. And then for me, I think being my authentic self, especially in HR, is really important. I think sometimes in HR, we think we need to be neutral and hide a
Like
lot of
very buttoned
things.
up,
Yes.
serious. Hmm.
Yeah. Like HR walks in the door and everyone's like, oh,
The
HR's here.
principal's
Better,
here.
I got to quit joking around.
Right.
And
Right.
and so from my perspective, they need to see the real me, and then they're much more likely to like me. And so then when I speak, people will be more likely to care. And so that's my biggest thing. I love to joke around. I love jokes and just making people laugh. Like, I don't do practical jokes, but I love making people laugh. I think that's really fun.
Me too.
And Morgan and I have a game where we try to get our CEO to laugh. And she'll like ping me. She's like, made Heath laugh today. And I'll say, well, I said this joke and I got a good reaction. And so it's just this fun game that we do that has nothing to do with work, but it's who I am. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, but
It,
it has everything to do with culture. Like
yeah,
we have fun, we laugh,
yeah,
and like where do you want to work? Where everybody's crying? No, you want to work where people are laughing. And
yeah,
that is this. That is building a vibrant culture, which is so
absolutely.
stinking important. Yeah, that's fantastic. All
Absolutely.
right, well, that's on my list someday to make Heath laugh. I want to do that.
Okay.
Okay, I want to join the club. All right, very
Yes.
good. All right, well, we are at the end of the hour. I can't believe this hour just flew by. And please don't miss how Carol has laid down some major great wisdom for all of us HR folks and leaders out there. I know people are like, let's have one more nugget, one more
Okay.
thing that Carol people share a big, awesome takeaway for us?
On our website, everyone has to have a quote, and we have everybody's picture and their quote, etc., on the website. So I'm just gonna tell you the quote I picked and why.
Okay.
Yeah, so Amelia Earhart, she says the most important thing is the decision to act, and the rest is merely tenacity. And
So
for
good.
me, with HR, that looks like you got to just take that initiative to have the hard conversation, to just dig in if it's organizational change that you need to see, standing up for what's right, even if it's not popular. And, just if you're going to shift culture or strategy, you have to decide to act. And that's the hardest part. And a lot of times in HR, we just want to not do new things and different things. It's usually hard.
Right, because we're
And
changing minds and hearts and policy and procedure and
it's going to be hard. But to me, that's the difference between an HR manager and a leader. So if you want to be the leader, then you have to decide to do it, and then of course follow through with that tenacity. So
yeah.
that's what I would leave
And
you
the
with.
tenacity is her proximity and the presence. I
Mhm.
think that's where the money is on this whole podcast, is get close to your people and
Yes.
then be a presence. So stinking good. All right, everybody, if you loved this episode of Build a Vibrant Culture podcast, would you go down to wherever you are? You're on your phone, on your Spotify, your Apple iTunes, your YouTube, whatever you're doing. Would you just go down there and give us a like and then tell Carol's awesome, and put that in there? That'd be great. That's Carol with 2 R's, by the way. So,
Yes.
Carol, if somebody wanted to reach out and pick your brain some more or talk to you, how do they find you? How do they get up with you?
They can get to me on LinkedIn. It's my name, Carrol Ostendorf, and Carol with 2 R's.
2 R's.
And 1 L. I was named after my grandmother. So.
Oh, that's so good. And you know what, Carol? All of the classic grandma names that we have are coming back.
They're coming back. I love it.
Yeah. Just the other day, one of my friends from the old neighborhood, her daughter had a baby and she named her Hazel, and they're going to call her Hazy. And I'm just like, I love it.
I love that.
Yeah. They're all coming back. So I love Carol. And of course, if you're from my generation, the first Carol I think of is Carol Burdett. And there's nothing better than that. So there you go. All right. So it has been another awesome episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. And I thank you so much, Carol, for being part of it.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more like-minded listeners. Remember, the journey to building a vibrant culture never stops. Stay inspired, keep nurturing your vibrant culture, and we can't wait to reconnect with you on the next exciting episode of Build a Vibrant Culture podcast.